Thrilling Thursday. I hope you had a happy one thus far. It is 1/11/2024. 111. And it's time for an afternoon, after work, after school story. And you know, we've been reading about Arturo Schomburg. And he threw in some of our heroes. And now we're about to get some information that's very interesting. Contrary to popular beliefs, slaves did rise up, and not just in the glorious liberations of Haiti. Arturo eventually traced the roots of rebellion to early America. He read the radical pamphlet that David Walker, a free black merchant, published in 1829, and appealed to the colored citizens of the world. That's what it was called. Calling for slaves to rise up. It was a fiery tract that was banned in its day. Arturo studied the 1839 mutiny on the slave ship Amistad. I remember being in a movie and I was supposed to be with a group of students. I was just, joining as a guest. But I could not watch it. I cannot watch 12 Years a Slave. I just can't watch violence. Especially knowing it's true. I just had to excuse myself because of the graphic nature. But to know that actually happened. Well, in the court case that followed, he investigated. Some states soon outlawed anti-slavery literature and forbade blacks from learning to read, because knowledge is power. That's why I just hung up the books right there. We have to read, we have to understand, we have to acquire as much information that's practical and spread it. What did slaveholders fear? In South Carolina and Virginia, Denmark, Vesey, and Gabriel planned uprisings. And in Virginia, Nat Turner carried out his vision. His 1831 insurrection brought together 70 blacks, slave and free, and left 57 whites dead. Arturo breathed in his hero's brave words. In his way, Schomburg was a revolutionary too. It's important for us to know this information and to know why many of us will be off on Monday. A few of my students didn't know what was a holiday. 3 Elizabeths. Arturo first married in 1895. The same year, he adopted the English version of his name, Arthur. Elizabeth Hatcher of Stanton, Virginia, was his bride. I take it was this one. She died young, leaving her husband to raise 2 sons, Maximo Gomez and Kingsley Goriano, or Gorionex. A third, Arturo Alfonso Jr., died in infancy. His second wife was Elizabeth Morrow Taylor, also from Virginia. From their union came 2 more children, Reginald Stanfield and Nathaniel Jose. Both boys lived in Virginia with their half-brothers and their mother's mother. It was common then for parents who worked in cities to send their children off to be raised by kin. On visits to the South, Arturo bristled at the color line. When the second Elizabeth passed on, he married another Elizabeth. What? Her name was Elizabeth Green. They were blessed with 3 children. Wow. So what is that, 7? Fernando, Dolores Marie, and Placido Carlos. Despite their Spanish names, Schomburg wouldn't let his offspring learn his native tongue. They were Americans. So 3, 2, and I believe 2 from the first wife. Wow, that's a lot. She died young. Yep, 2 sons, so 7 children. Whitewash. In his quest for black glory, Arturo Schomburg navigated a maze of misinformation that stripped Africans' humanity and branded them as less than to justify slavery. The system was based on skin color superiority and inferiority and was necessary, argued aristocrats, to build fortunes and empires. Oh, this is ridiculous. Arturo suspected a conspiracy of fraud that aimed to erase all African history but bondage. Arturo saw the historical record was colorblind only when that best served greedy's motives. So when genius was black, skin color was left out. But Schomburg chased the truth and turned up icons whose African heritage had been whitewashed. Arturo found African roots in the family tree of artist, ornithologist, and naturalist John James Audubon. His masterpiece was the book Birds of America. With watercolors, pastel crayons, charcoal, and pencils, he depicted North American birds in stunning, lifelike poses. Yet for all Audubon's fame, there was rarely a mention that he was born to a French plantation owner and a Creole chambermaid. As a boy, Arturo read The Three Musketeers. I used to lose myself in that book, he later wrote, and think I was fighting with the D'Artagnan, Porthos, and Aramis. He memorized their motto, all for one and one for all, but he had no inkling that the author, Frenchman Alexander Dumas, was descended from slaves. Why had Arturo not learned as a child? There's an elementary school in the Woodlawn area named Alexander Dumas. Oh my, is this Beethoven? Yeah, because he always have a furrowed brow. Arturo discovered that Russia had its black star too, the great poet Alexander Pushkin, the father of that country's modern literature. His first work published when he was just 15. His great-grandfather was Abram Ganable, who was kidnapped as a child in Central Africa, served in the court of Peter the Great, and rose to become a general and an aristocrat himself. No wonder Pushkin was famed for fighting duels. Even German composer Ludwig van Beethoven had ties to Africa. He was often described as dark, a mulatto, a Moor. His mother was said to be a Moor, North African. Gifted beyond belief, Beethoven still composed after he lost his hearing. How could this maestro's African heritage have been muted? How could Arturo ever behold Beethoven's Fifth Symphony without hearing Africa drumming? Da 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 da, da 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 da. Yeah. Interesting. And Moonlight Sonata, you all remember how my 8th graders finally see the connection, how playing the piano will help hand-eye coordination and transfer across to the basketball court and sports. And remember, Kobe Bryant taught himself Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata by ear. So it's within us. And I've heard that Beethoven was partially black. So listen, I keep on saying genius is within all of us. It's up to us to reawaken what is deep down, embedded, so that we can decrease what we see and hear on the news or, read in a police blotter. And I tell my students when they're acting up, that's not you. That's not really you. So, all right, there's greatness. Thank you for those inspiring collections of facts, and we're going to internalize and spread learning all across the world. Enjoy.